Funding Nigeria's 8.6 trillion naira 2018 budget will not be a walk in the park, as the government is looking at innovative ways to raise revenues with a tax to GDP ratio of just 6%. Managing partner at Andersen Tax, Olaleye Adebiyi, joined me to discuss Nigeria's drive to widen its tax net as the country looks to finance next year's budget.
Before now, the government has focused more on oil, at the point when oil was $115, $120. But oil at 40, which is bad for the whole world, government has revenue, so we need to focus more on non-tax. You can say, what is the traction? Yes, but it's good to start. The starting point, if you actually look at this year's budget, kind of effort the government is making to kind of increase activity in the non-oil sector. In the solid mineral sector, government is setting up a 30 billion solid mineral development fund to increase exploration activity in that sector. Government is setting up, going to start exploiting bitumen in Ondo State to kind of meet the bitumen requirement for asphalt in the country. Then, thirdly, government is also going to set up 6 crop processing zones, staple crop processing zone across the nation. So this, in a way, will kind of increase activities, which will make people have more money in their hand and also end up paying more taxes.
My question always is, I mean, we always come up, we're very good at coming up with schemes based on the resources that we have. So I mean, that 30 billion, the solid minerals scheme and all. I'm just wondering, is there a timeline, a timetable attached to it? Because it's one thing to put this thing in place, because we know, especially when it's set up by government, there's that red tape, government bureaucracy. Before you set it up, maybe a committee, you put the building together, you put the money together, and it takes time. Before we know it, it could take 6 months, 12 years, and the year 2018 is over. So one wonders, what is the timeline, and to what extent would the contribution, the benefits of those schemes have on the sector or on all non-oil revenue, so that we can get that benefit within that time frame that we need it?
Okay, I will take the second part first. What benefits? Assuming they do it well. I mean, if they do it well at the right time and people are able to access the fund to engage in exploitation and exploration of mineral activities, then the activity will go up. People will make more money and pay more money to government. So the issue is timing. It was not stated in the budget. This is an idea. We don't know whether the idea has been conceived or maybe just something the president just thinking about, or whether a committee has been set up. What are the modalities for assessing those funds? Nobody knows yet. But I think today they are giving out the details of the budget. Maybe it will come out on how those funds will be assessed. But nobody knows yet. Until in the new year, I'm sure there will be modalities in place to assess the fund. But like I said, if you can assess the fund, the activity, that's going to kind of scale up the activity in the mineral sector, and people will have more money to pay taxes to government.
I mean, still speaking about taxes, one other thing that the authorities are doing is widening the tax bracket. I mean, I hear the commercials, I see the commercials, and I hear the jingles on the radio every morning, asking Nigerians to pay their taxes, the VATES program, the voluntary assets and income declaration, the deadline, the incentives, the penalties. I'm just wondering, are Nigerians listening? Is there feedback? How do we know that? Do we know that Nigerians are responding to these calls by the government to,
I can tell you, I mean, among the rich, which is the main focus of the VAT, which should actually be for everybody. But among the rich, some of the clients we are working with, we're actually saying, oh, maybe we need to use the time for us to declare the income. There's a response. But my only problem is that it has not been a stick and carrot like it has been in other countries. Within 1 year in Brazil, government raised $14 billion in taxes using the same concept as VAT. When Nigeria and Land Fowler came out, that's you can say they has raised $50 million. That's a far cry for what you can get. The issue is sensitization also to go along with, if you don't come out, what is the penalty? They are not emphasizing on the stick. They're emphasizing on the carrot. Come, we will forgive you penalty and interest, won't prosecute you. But if I had been out of the tax bracket for this many years, and now nobody has done anything to me, so what's the incentive for me to come out now? So then government need to let them know that if you don't come out, the penalty is higher. Now, because with the exchange of information signed across the world, people that have money in the UK now, it's easy for Lagos State government to know how much is balance for anybody in the UK. Even though a balance is not a taxable income, but if you can have £1 million in your account and you're paying £1 million tax, I mean, that's a disconnection between the two. That's what government need to emphasize, that by the expiry of this amnesty program, we'll have information on you that make you pay more money than you are. If you're not paying to us now, it's in your best interest to come out and pay before the expiry of the amnesty.
So
that would be a stick
your perspective,
and carrot,
you don't think that the VADES, or how they're going about it is effective enough to get the desired results? I mean, you mentioned how Brazil went about theirs. I'm just wondering, are we getting that wrong?
No, they are trying their best. It's the first time we're doing what I think government needs to do. 9 months may not be enough for a country where people are not being paying taxes to introduce an amnesty. We have a 2-year period. At that point, then people get more comfortable to come out. 9 months, like say, if I have escaped paying taxes for 20 years, and give me 9 months to come out. If I don't come out, so what happens to me? I can still keep on being under the radar after the expiry, and you still don't get me. But like I said, if government emphasize the fact that now the world is open, whatever I say you have all over the world is at the fingertips of government. People don't know that. So if that emphasis is made, then maybe those who are actually the rich, who they are focusing on, will come out and say, I have assets in here and there, and I need to pay the taxes on them. So, but like I said, the focus also needs to change. Government is focusing only on the rich for this one. VADE should be for everybody. VADE is everybody that is not paying taxes. The farmer in the village who is making 140,000.
Yeah, I mean, the informal sector,
that
is difficult to capture.
But the point remains, there are things government can do to make those people come out. There's enumeration, and then in the villages in those days, you have people who are like village head, and you give them authority to kind of let them know who in the village is making more money than the others. Just put a minimum amount people should pay. Government will get more money.
Okay, so none of that, no significant effort is being made in that space.
No,
the informal to capture the larger, obviously larger informal sector.
It's focused more on the formal sector and the wealthy. Okay. How many wealthy men do you have in the country? That's the point. So you need to focus on everybody. Okay,
so I'm just thinking, I mean, the combination of all these efforts, the 30 billion Solid Minerals Development Fund, the bitumen exploitation, 600,000 metric tons, all these efforts, I'm just thinking, are these what the government is relying on to push that needle, take us from that 6% tax to GDP ratio to higher? What is that big ticket that the government is relying on?
I think, well, in a way, that's one way. If you increase commercial activity, you actually get more money. You are pushing more people from the informal sector to the formal sector. Okay. So that will kind of, if people are able to access the 30 billion fund, and set up their own businesses in a way, then they make more money in their hand and they will pay taxes to government. That's one. But it goes beyond that. If I set up a business and I'm making money, and you're not following up to collect the taxes from me, you know, I'm making more money now. What have you achieved? You get the point. So the focus of government should not just be on one sector. Like you said, the informal sector, the economy is a large one. If you push people to the formal sector and keep on focusing only on that, the 6% may get to maybe 7.5. But country needs to get to minimum of 15, 20.
Are we saying, does this mean that we lack the resources, the capacity to chase after, implement these schemes that we've set into motion all at the same time? I
think that's right. I don't think the tax authority have enough people to follow up on the taxpayers. With a population of 170 million people, let's just take that 120 among them are one form of business or the. I don't think, but when we're working with one state government, when we check the number of people that have in their register of taxpayers compared to registered voters, the gap is so wide. So government needs to do more to bring more people to the tax bracket.
Would that also involve maybe having a central, identification system? I know that is also a big issue. I mean, if everybody's registered under one platform, as it were, like you have in the United States, the Social Security number, wouldn't that be easier to track people? There's know where people are and what they're doing. I know the BVN was supposed to do something similar. I'm just wondering to what extent, how much progress?
BVN is turning out to be more opportunity for government. That was not what it was meant for. BVN was actually more to check fraud, because if the idea was to get tax payment, then there would have been total coverage, rather than just get able to go and register in a bank, whether you have a bank account, just force everybody to open a bank account one way or the other. You just put 1 naira there. Then at that point, you capture everybody in the system. What BVN was meant for was actually meant initially was to make sure that people don't take credit from multiple banks and not pay. So the idea was not for tax. So government need to come out with something that's going to capture more people. If you check the law says there's something you will not be able to get from government if you can't show your tax clearance certificate. So that's one way. Maybe government need to expand that list and make sure that not everybody who you're going to register your son in school, maybe you want to say before you register your son in school, show that you pay tax, either a government school or a private school, then you show your tax card. Then at that point, more people... That
sounds drastic. Yeah. Do you think that we need such drastic measures?
If you don't do those drastic things, there's no way people... If you are just making people just caressing their hand rather than slap, you're not going to be able to come out and pay tax.
Now, you've also, Andersen Tax, you've come up with an app that you say could be a game changer. Tell us about that. Yeah,
the app, exactly. When talking to a state government, we translated the Personal Income Tax Act to several languages of Igbo, Hausa, Pidgin, and Yoruba. Okay. So I'm Benue State said, please also do it to our local language of Igede, Tiv, and Doma. So, but we asked them, how do we intend to reach those who are not in the cities? And I said, well, there's no way we can lead them because they will say go and pay tax, and they pay tax with the officer if the officer steals the money. I said, but we can give you something. And I said, what is that? So that's what this app came up. So there is hardly anybody in this country now, but I can say 80% of Nigerians have mobile phone. Okay. And people would rather buy credit than buy food. So everybody has credit on their phone. So if I have 1,000 naira credit on my phone and government is assessing me 200 naira just using those figure, all I need to do is to click on a button, I have a tax ID. I pay the money. The app allows you to know how much you are liable to pay. Once you know the amount, you just click a button and you click to choose the account number of your state. If you have something, for example, in Cross River State, you have the bank account there. You put your ID card, ID number, and you click, and the money goes straight to. So,
for example, for an uneducated farmer who's in his farm and who has a mobile phone and has airtime on it, is it easy? How easy is it for him to use in terms of instructions, going from one stage to another, up to where he gets to the stage where the money gets sent out? Yeah, it's
actually what we've done is we've not only done it in English for those that can read English, we're also kind of putting it in languages that people can understand. I mean, if a farmer. And if you can't read. If you can just know the process, this is what I need to do just 3 steps. Okay. But I know the farmer doesn't have any accessible profit. Government just, you pay us 1,000 naira every month. Okay. So he knows that all you need to do, press, this is my account number, this is my tax ID, this is government account number, amount, and the money goes straight. An easy process to get this done. That's
quite interesting. Well, let's hope that this is, it sounds like a game changer. Let's see how this changes.
Government has to deploy the resources. You have to make sure make government people are aware that this app that can enable you to pay taxes in the villages.
That was Olaleye Adebiyi, Managing Partner at Andersen Tax.